It is a very warm summer night. I had kind of hoped that the heat was going to break today, but it hasn't. And I find myself in a strange mood. There is much that needs doing. I do not have the brain power to do it all. So instead, I want to take you on a journey. I want to take you all to the Nameless City. I've never seen disassociation as a content warning before, so your guess is as good as mine. So, this is loosely based on the Lovecraftian mythos. This is chunky, low poly, and indie as fuck. Actually, at the time of recording, this has 6 reviews on Steam, despite being out for, like, what, week and change? This has been described as an eerie, surrealist, not quite horror, not quite puzzle, very much a facing down cosmic horrors. And I don't know, we've been doing a lot of stuff with liminal spaces recently. I've been really enjoying doing these like little bite-sized videos for you all. Bite-sized, it's an hour. But this was one I got specially for this. Other than, you know, those that have played it and the glowing reviews they've given for it, it's Lovecraftian influence, and it's frankly gorgeous fat pixel life. I know nothing going into this, so you're coming along for the ride, friend. You're coming along for the ride. So yeah, if it's night where you are, pour yourself something cool and chilled. I've got sake for myself. And join me on a stroll towards the Nameless City. In a remote in the desert of, I've read that as RB, of Araby lies the Nameless City, crumbling and inarticulate. It must have been thus before the first stones of Memphis were laid, and while the bricks of Babylon were yet unbaked. There is no legend so old as to give it a name, to recall that which was ever alive. It was of this place that Abdul al-Hazrid, the mad poet, and I'm sorry if I butchered that was not intentional, dreamed of the night before he sang his unexplained couplet. That is not dead, which can eternal lie, and that with strange eons even death may die. I'm sure this is fine. Now, like I said, I've been really enjoying doing these little, like, mini horror videos, right? I feckin' love horror in video games as a concept, and often short form is best. You know, this is why I speak so highly of the Dreadx collection. It's why I speak so highly of a lot of the micro horror games that I have shown you. But this is off the usual beaten path. Now, while I'm a big one to talk about the influence of the Lovecraftian mythos, check it out. I know those peaks. End of Evangelion sends its regards. But no, I have talked about the kind of cosmic horror mythos a whole bunch, predominantly on stream. And obviously, as much as a content warning, as much as what's the term? A primer, that's it. H.P. Lovecraft was a piece of shit garbo human. He was an absolute trash bag shitlord. And may the man ever be discoupled from his works. Thankfully, he's been dead a very long time, so I don't feel this is apropos of anything. But The Nameless City is not a book that I have read.
When I came upon the Nameless City, in the ghastly stillness of unending sleep, You looked at me, chilly, from the rays of a cold moon amidst the desert's heat, and as I returned its look, I forgot my triumph in finding it.
What's up, the moon? Now, this won't come across on YouTube, but again, the binaural audio on this is brilliant. And I got to admit, for a super warm summer night, you know, playing a horror game set in the desert really does fit. Like, you can see, even with a red shirt on, this is how pink I am. It's not sunburn, it's just that bloody warm. But anyway, we've talked a lot about liminal horror and especially the more modern influences of like the SCP Foundation, leading to things like the backrooms. You know, things that, at least in video games, I would consider contemporary horror. Now, obviously, horror, when we talk about it in a genre-specific term and in timings, we actually mean a whole bunch of different things, and depending on how much this game lets me talk and how much it scares the piss out of me, depends on how much I get into it. Like, I'm sorry to use such a fucking garbo example now that we started. One only needs to look at the evolution of what games are described as survival horror to really understand how far we have come and how much things have changed. But the interesting thing when it comes to interpretive Lovecraftian works is how much weight they have. Oh man, it's getting... The sandstorm rages with relentless fury. I shall set up camp nearby and wait for this fierce wind to subdue. Okay, let's set up camp here. It's a nice little undercrop. Sleep until morning. Okay. Sorry, as I was saying, there are a gajillion games inspired by Lovecraftian works. I'd say the bangers for me are obviously Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, Call of the Sea, and I don't know, I'll think of a third good Lovecraftian cosmic horror banger. But what's so fascinating about it is that the original texts are kind of garbo when you go back. I mean, the running joke with Lovecraft is the whole I beheld a monster completely... Oh, crouch. That completely defied description. I shall now spend 2 pages describing him. The wall lacks carvings or inscriptions, leaving me unable to determine if the inhabitants of the city were humans. If they were humans. Alright, mate. My reading game is on point. There's that purple light. What if we went anywhere else? It appears the oddly shaped rock has fallen from the structure. Strangely, its texture is rough, as though the arid winds of the desert haven't eroded it. But there are still facets to the original works. Again, Lovecraft is a turd human bastard sandwich. But there's elements to his original works that are still worth putting forward in video game form. See, he was a garbo writer, but he hit upon some concepts ahead of a lot of other people that have now done his concepts but better. And yeah, I'll head over towards the purple light in a second. But, what's this? Muffled aquatic noises emanate from the pit before me. Could there be a subterranean mass of water beneath the city? Cool. There's a doom well. I hate that. But there's a lot of elements of exploration of that kind of unknowing curiosity that with Lovecraft's work, it's all about great big wibbly monsters that kind of compel and drive you. And honestly, it gets a bit tired and dated after you've read about it a bit. But the thing about video games is that video games put us in a state of action, right? This is a game that I spent cash money dollars to acquire, and I am going to seek it out, right? It is fascinating because by that very action, we are put in the shoes of a protagonist that wants to know what is here. See, so often in traditional horror, both in games and in other media, we encounter a character that should absolutely get the fuck up and leave. You know, you cannot tell me you've not watched a horror movie and just screamed, "Just don't go in there. You can go." Right? But one of the things that Lovecraft's work hit upon was this compulsion. Now he ends up like squandering away this good horror by putting it down to psychic wibbly tentacle monsters. And I think that video games allow an ambiguity because we as users, as players, we wish to progress, we wish to know. And ultimately I think that curiosity was the thing that I would have put down the claiming of so many minds lost to these great impossible horrors. You know, the bored English scholar who stumbles upon some text, who's been coddled his whole life. He's gone from school to university. He's never had to worry about bills or anything. And he stumbles upon something a little bit dangerous. And he starts looking into it. And then he finds a mystery, and mystery intrigues him, so he follows forward. And this is again why I call Lovecraft a bit of a garbo fart person, not just because he's a racist, but because he puts it down to this like psychic power coming from space. Whereas I think the actual human drive of curiosity, or at very least the concept that it would drive us forward without some, psychic command, I think makes it more powerful. If we go back to the... Oh, piss. Where's my torch? Okay. Hate that. Behind the pillar, I get a glimpse of a strange glyph. Its mere sight makes me shiver. Ugh. Oh, I hate that. The statue appears to be an ancient idol of unfathomed faith. The grotesque eyes and teeth are strangely more intricate than the rest of the image. The sole imagination of the perverse rituals officiated here to venerate this deity sends my mind to wander in a sea of despair and madness. Okay. Well. Okay. So my little spinal column is essentially my... okay, signs of an ancient race that dwell here adorn this primitive altar. This desolate place is reminiscent of an ancient temple. What forgotten and dreadful rites could have occurred here? Interestingly, despite its initial shock, our character does seem to be recovering. Anyway, I won't labour the point too much. You'll probably know about Lovecraftian works better than I, but I do find that video games and the whole "would you kindly" of them so thoroughly illustrate the lure of the impossible, the lure of the beyond. The puzzle that draws you into horror, even after you know you have gone too far and you cannot turn away. Okay, well, we're still in the ruins at very least. But it is impossibly dark. So yeah, unlike with Pools, unlike with Exit 8, this is not new school horror. This is actually going back to some proper classic goodness. Now, I believe it is on Steam, but I originally played it on the PlayStation. There is a point-and-click game called the Necronomicon, and it is, hands down, one of the single slowest going to step on the sand. Sorry, I'm poking at the deities in this place. I guess whoever I'm playing as, despite their scholaric nature, is brash. Creatures can't spook me if I spook them first. Obviously, I'm going to pay for that in a handful of minutes. But no, as the Necronomicon, originally I played on the PS1, it is the most... Okay, that's moving. Good. Okay, it's like the light is emanating through. But anyway, so the Necronomicon is one of the most agonizingly laborious point-and-click adventure games I have ever played. It's one of those, like, pre-rendered pseudo-FMV types, and you have long-winded, drawn-out conversations with people from, you know, the post-revolution East Coast in agonizing detail. The puzzles you solve are strange and asinine and weird, but... Okay. You good? You good, tiny frogs? But slowly, the mystery you have come to unfurl starts to give way to a grander conspiracy. And it's one of those games where I can't recommend you play it. It might bore you to the point of wanting to send me hate mail. But it traps you in this dull, grey, East Coast, never-ending beigeness until suddenly little droplets of a mystery are trickled around you. And if you persevere as this mystery unfurls, holy crap. Now that game takes, with a guide, like 6 to 8 hours to finish. Without a guide, good luck, Buttercup. You're going on a ride. But when you do finally step foot into the impossible ziggurat where the Necronomicon is kept in that game, you want to go forward. You spent fucking, hours of your life talking to the bloody milkmaid or whoever. Sorry, I don't remember the characters from it exactly. But that juxtaposition of the boredom that you leave behind and what you yearn for the knowledge and the secret, is incredible. And when I saw this doing the rounds on Steam, I felt this might capture that. Okay.
I felt something trying to establish contact with me. Yet I felt its voice inside my brain. Its faint whisper still lingers around this place. There shall be another glyph around.
So we should need to find more glyphs. Okay. So the other thing is, like, again, I'm giving you the briefest of brief history lessons. Again, this is all probably stuff you know, so just indulge me talking about it. But aside from the shitey parts of Lovecraft's writing, he tapped into the concept of cosmic horror, because as he was writing his pulpy nonsense was around the time we were, as a race, starting to realize that, hey, it's not just Earth out there. Oh boy, there's a big old universe. And so the concept of unfathomable things, unfathomably large things, was seeping into the public sight. Cities adorned with the glyphs. I am haunted by the certainty that I have seen the sigil during my studies of the occult. Yet its meaning is shrouded by the grey veil of time. God. I'm glad I'm drinking, actually, because this is the kind of poetic nonsense I describe cleaning the kitchen with when I'm shit-faced. Excuse me. But we are in a time now where we understand the sciences so well. We understand our galaxy. We have so many spheres of knowledge about the universe that we did not have before. If there are great big galaxy wibbly-sized tentacle monsters out there, we can't see them and they can't see us. It's fine. That's called the big scary forest theory. No, the Dark Forest universe theory. That's another story. But the reason I bring this up is that these initial elements that at the time had propelled Lovecraft's work ahead of his peers don't really stand up once you have the science. But the feeling of the impossibility of it all, that is something that these works absolutely can capture. A strange barrier obscures the path ahead. It feels as though I should be able to find a way to disable it. And I think one of the core tenets of this is the compulsion. That the mystery is what drives these individuals. Where a practical person might be like, and get fucked. You know, someone who has the resources of the occult and the nonsense at their disposal to go off on a one-person unaccompanied expedition into the unknown deserts maybe doesn't have that same level of fear. Oh, hate that. Oh.
He's feeling again a sharp pain inside my skull. However, the meaning of these glyphs has begun to unveil itself to me. I have started to transcribe them into my journal, as I am convinced they hold the key to unlock the secrets of the city.
The excavation of Hobbs Burrow. You know what? I don't think there could be a better example of taking this very old school style of horror and tweaking it for a modern audience. Because, okay, so what we've been talking about with liminal spaces is essentially we both as individuals and as players are on the back foot there. Okay, Q, open the glyph journal. So, verb, dispel, noun, cough. Dispel, cough. Boosh! I got magic shit. Where was I going with that? Oh, yes. And much like with this, with like the excavation of Hobbs Burrow and a whole bunch of and the Necronomicon, as I was talking about, we have to... God, I hate this if you have claustrophobia. We have to accept the idea that the user, the player, that we know we're going into some spooky ass shit. That the person walking these horrid halls knows that they deal with cosmic beings beyond the void, right? You cannot say in this, you know, the year of Shadow the Hedgehog 2024 that people don't know who Cthulhu is. So what this is doing so well is slowing our pace down, having us explore. We are the character's trepidation for... Okay. We are the character's trepidation because we know what he doesn't. The device before me bears a strong resemblance to a sun clock. However, after seeing a raging wind that arises at nightfall, I am drawn to position that the civilization was more fascinated by the lunar mysteries than by the glare of the sun. It seems unaffected by my torch. Anyway, that's enough pretentious nonsense from me.
The sandstorm emerges from the insides of the city and then shrouds the ruins at night. I should go back to the camp. My head is hurting again. It looks like the city doesn't want to be explored at night.
It's gonna spit me out over here, huh? What did I do? Ah! Interesting. It returned me to my camp the following day with the tools that I had prior. Interesting. Anyway, let us press on. But no, I said I was done with the pretentious nonsense. Surprise! It's more pretension! With will! I just wanted to add that what this is already doing so well that I'm kind of inspired by is that we know what we're going to find here, maybe. It knows that we know what we're going to find here, maybe. But by golly, are we exploring it? Actually, don't want to throw myself into the underground water well. Structure is decorated with these unfathomable symbols. Must hold some significance, or perhaps it connects to an important monument for their civilization. These ones are actually structurally sound, which worries me a little. I guess this is a nice juxtaposition to the last two titles we've done, like Pools and Exit 8, because both of those... Sorry, I keep using the new school, old school horror. Let me just finish this thought in that both of those were about anomalies beyond actual fathoming, right? Alright, we'll crawl into the passage. Like, in Pools, are we caught in the belly of some strange beast? Are we trapped beyond knowledge? Are we inside something that knows we are there and wishes to torture us? Or, holy crud, fast to this precipice, a grand structure has been carved in stone, and a natural glow emanates from its sides, as though this eldritch monument was inviting me to unearth its mysteries. And that's what you'll tell people later, when you've doomed us all. Dumbass. Sorry. Shouldn't heckle my own character. But no, with Pools, it's still, to me, not clear if we were in something that was alive and reactive, something that had grown of concept or otherwise. These statues are exploding turbulent gusts of sand and gravel. The purpose has been buried for eons. Oh, okay. Oh, I get it. We go under. Here. Okay, that's what it wants of us. And I wish to explore this a little more. Perhaps I have hecked up. Let us go unlock whatever that was. I think we might need it. Ah, no. It's just pointing out that not everything that we do in this place will be for our benefit. Anyway, I don't think I have much to add on my previous thought, only that the compulsion to explore this strange place, the facades of several small, squat rock houses or temples rest on the surface of that cliff. These structures promise further traces of the antediluvian people, as its interior might preserve many secrets of ages too remote for calculation. How long until I fail to pronounce antediluvian? Fuck! Alright, there we go. Good thing I didn't make any bets on that one. Now, one of the things that somebody said prior to coming to this, and I have to admit, I get it, is someone said that this game is neither too horrifying nor too... Oh, okay, that's just death there. Is neither too horrifying nor too peaceful. The puzzle's neither too brutal nor too simple. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I think I get it. You know, one of the things about puzzles, especially puzzles in horror, is that they should be used to make us focused or ground us, and that's a fucking ribcage. Upon the distant cliff, a skeletal remains of a colossal animal repose in eerie stillness. Could it be that the inhabitants of the city once dwelled alongside titanic creatures? I fucking hope they're dead. Oh, just a weird crystal. Okay, cool. Cool. Thanks, weird crystal. Sorry, what I was scratching at there was puzzles in horror should be used to accent what is already there, right? If you want a true dyed-in-the-wool puzzle game, that's cool. You do you, homie. Like, and have a great time doing it. But with puzzle games, they force us to pay attention to things, right? And they can absolutely put us in the shoes of the character. What the UI shows us, what the world shows us, is essentially a glimpse into the character's mind rather than ours. You know, and hey, if you want a true, like, puzzle for puzzle's sake, and you haven't heard me talk about, whatchamacallit, the Black Watchman yet, then surprise, surprise, I'm going to talk about the Black Watchman. Fuck. Dies. Okay. Don't even worry about it. It's just a little hint of existential dread. Don't worry about it. But it does beg the question, what are we supposed to do here? Those seem to be fizzling. I wonder. We'll backtrack. And... oh, that's not good. That was not here before. But no, the power of puzzles in situations like this is to ground us, right? With the Necronomicon game, as boring as it was initially, it absolutely grounds you in being this regular feckin' person. In this, I don't know. I don't think it would be weird to say that whoever we are has already begun to lose their faculties by the time they even find this place. Ah, still hate that. The idea that whatever it is desperately trying to understand and commune with us. Something tells me I should not jump off there. So, before me lies an alien device, a lifeless orb resting above an unnatural pedestal. Its ever-shifting surface is mesmerizing, as if it beckons me to unveil its mysteries. Okay, look. We touched the orb. Orb's doing orb stuff. So it opened that door, and it lit that alight. Let's go check it out. Interestingly, despite what happened to us earlier on, that did not cause our little character any pain. Okay. Got some funky puzzles. I can dig it. Interesting. Let's see what we find down here. Sorry, I guess what I'm scratching at was just the using puzzles to put us in the space, to make us pay attention to this all. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, this isn't one big space. This is a small space, infinitely looping. Right now, we are on an infinite plane of either something beyond comprehension or of our own little noggins. Aha! And because we are on an infinitely looping plane, that is the place we need to be. So we shall merely return to it from another angle. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe I want to read too much into this, which is entirely valid. But right now, I don't know. Oh, interesting. So we need to stop that. I'll try this one as well. There is a madness to this place that either we or the person we are playing as has come to understand, right? Does that mean that we have become acclimatized? Does this mean our character has come to understand this impossible place? Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Okay, hello. I don't know if you can hear that. There is the sound like 1,000 chittering fingers. We must away. It's fine. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. I don't know what you're worried about. I'm slightly worried. Okay. I find myself holding my breath, even though that is ridiculous. But I believe my calculations are correct. The way should be clear for us to the glyph once we've hit this. Nope, I fucked up. I just think there's a power in having people have to spend time with strange puzzles like this in an environment that's impossible, that essentially grounds them. I don't know. It was something I thought a lot about when going through weirdly, the Dead Space series. How quickly Isaac becomes just perfectly comfortable. So that's the path we seek. So we need to open this door. Okay, we absolutely need that one closed. So that's the death beam. So we need this door open without... So who controls that one then? What is this? A center for ants? You are no help at all. It is very warm and I am unsettled. This is one of the points where, if you are actually watching along on YouTube, a place I have heard talk of frequently, you're probably screaming at the varying screens, Will, you already had it, you idiot, you already had it. So these two turn each other off and on, okay? Which means that whatever puzzles we need for this lie elsewhere. Perhaps this is our salvation. There we go. I think about the fact that nothing is chasing us. Nothing right now is screaming and yelling and pursuing us. I guess that's the other reason why I wanted to do something like this. Because right now, much like with pools, we have no idea. Will there be a great lurking horrible beast to pursue us to our final moments? Or will we simply be driven mad by the quest for knowledge, by the quest for exploration, by the very fucking game that we are consuming? Ah, still hate that. Oh.
I felt my consciousness expand, compassing every corner of the universe, and from the depths of reality, voices whisper to me, ancient and forbidden knowledge. These voices possess the secret of reshaping the very essence of matter, and they bestow that power to me.
I've got to say, before we go into some of the technical elements at play here, the other thing that works so well, of the idea of the rich and the elite exploring these ruins, is that at no point would they ever question the fact that they are being given this impossible knowledge, right? These strange beasts whisper to me the knowledge to reshape matter. It's like, wait, why would they share that? Again, these elements I think are worth mentioning because they wholeheartedly highlight the character whose shoes we have been put in. Anyway. Cast cough. Okay. Let's cough on there, so let's try it one more time. Cast cough. Haha. Cool. I may have cast too much cough. Ah. Ugh. Okay, but notice, that's not a jump scare, right? That's not like ooga booga booga. It's uncomfortable. It's weird and I hate it. But it's weird. From a technical standpoint, that's created by what's called an adversarial network. So it's not like generative AI in the sense of we just stole a whole bunch of images, get hacked. You basically have two sets of data fight each other to create something. A good friend of mine worked on something similar, and it's much more attainable without... You can do it with just your own data set and images that you have taken. You don't have to steal shit to make it, which is why I'm not immediately dragging this over the coals for the fact that it's cast off. By the fact that it's utilizing like generated images. That's not the stuff that is scraping people's data and, you know, putting artists out of business. Okay, that's another story. For as long as we don't have to cast, I'm going to try and avoid. Because what's interesting is while our character can handle the strain, especially at night, it seems to overwhelm them. And much like with Paratropic, I've noticed that what we can and can't do by day is drastically. Oh, what the fuck is that? It's drastically different what we can and can't do at night. That was it. While our character has been given immense power. Okay. They can only use it sparingly. And also, I don't know if you've noticed, but when we get an air quotes game over, when we use up all of our sanity, which again, I love the fact that. Oh, hang on. I'm going to give you a little bit of technical jiggery pokery here. Oh, I guess it's all here. Alright. Check this out. So over here, sorry, this is the thing you haven't been able to see because I realised my camera's in the wrong spot, has been my sanity meter. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to plonk my sorry self down here in the corner, so at least that way you'll know when I'm in trouble if my sanity meter should go feckin' sideways. Anyway, let's return. But the thing I wanted to point out is that when we get an air quotes game over, it stops being night and starts being the following day. Simple, right? Just restart the day-night cycle. But when we start thinking about it from our character's perspective, we're losing time. And honestly, it's something that games have always struggled to encompass because of, the fact that users do have agency in the space. But it's one of the things where, this kind of horror is at its strongest. That you think that you understand everything that's going on. You think that you're in control. And that is the thing that we are trying not to wake/trying to wake. The enormous and eerie statue looms before the entrance of the colossal monument. As an ever-watchful sentinel that guards the mysteries buried in the depths of the Nameless City. We are in classic fucking horror turf here. And it's getting pinker. It's always amused me that the concept of luminous pink to represent both the occult and things from beyond our stars. Okay, my most primal instincts compel me to cease the exploration of this city. But my insatiable curiosity is more intense than the most primordial of fears. There. That line sums up what this is doing so well. Because as players, assuming the game is not terrible, assuming we're having, well, I wouldn't say fun, but assuming we're really engrossed in the experience, we're not gonna stop, right? Oh man, I'm really enjoying this horror game. I'm gonna Alt F4 and never play it again. And look, I understand it's a very, very hyper simplified example, but it encapsulates what drives these people into what drives these people ever onwards into impossible situations. They do not realize that the madness has set in. What the heck is that? The sediment that clings to this wall bears resemblance to the remains of an ancient mural, though I can't grasp any recognizable form in this art. I am left to ponder the possibility of whether, in the deepest corners of this building, any painting has survived the relentless passage of time. Okay, sorry, it was just the same line again. Open the door. The massive door of brass resting on this wall is... Sorry, a massive door of brass is resting in the wall of this gloomy passage. In the darkness, as I open the door, I find myself chanting over and over again the phrase... from one Lord Dunsley's Tales. The unreverent blackness of the abyss. Yay! I'm sure nothing bad lies in there. And I guess, again, one of the things that's really powerful in this is that
The darkness that occupies this tunnel feels unnatural. The feeble lightness of my torch is at least a poor comfort in this abyss.
you're not wrong. And we can feel the streaks affecting us. And again, I think the juxtaposition of our character's compulsion and what we're being shown, our curiosity as the player, and being very clearly demonstrated that we are failing. We are doing. The UI says our sanity is being eroded as we crawl down this dark and impossible corridor, right? Yet we press onwards. The material as artifact fluctuates and glows dimly. Its surface radiates a heat that is unusually soothing. Okay. And that is the glyph of saving. Look, I know it's super, super simple, and I hope it doesn't feel like I'm trying to, pull golden hairs from old goats. But I do think there's something special here, and I do think the juxtaposition of what very little UI we have, the very slimmest of UIs we have that show that we're in mental danger, juxtaposed with the fact that we must press on. I don't know. I think that's pretty powerful. Weirdo little statues getting splotted by spider webs.
An icy wind aroused from these tunnels.
Oh, I could go for an icy wind right about now.
Torch's light dim. Was it a mere trick of my imagination?
And I assume it's the developer behind this doing the voice of this character, and they're bringing it together wonderfully. The artifact bears resemblance to the one I encountered earlier, yet this time its surface is cold and lifeless. The passage of centuries may have rendered this relic inert. This is essentially to show us that we must press on, as we cannot return. At this point, I know as much as you'll. See if that trigger warning disassociation was warranted or otherwise. Okay. Again, it is inconceivable that the inhabitants of the city fabricated these artifacts to illuminate these depths. Astoundingly, a handful of them continue to cast their light after countless centuries. A surprisingly well-preserved fresco adorns the wall, defying the ravages of time. The creatures depicted in this painting are grotesque. An amalgam of a frog, a reptile, the mythical satyr, and human. Well, if you know your mythos nonsense, you know who's who. The beings pictured in this fresco are abhorrent, causing me to question if the people of the city were humans at all. Yet, the reason impels me to accept the theory of these creatures being allegorical representations of the inhabitants of the city. Sorry, I should definitely get more sake. Several of the eldritch creatures depicted in this fresco are crawling. Could it be that these cramped tunnels are intentionally constructed to evoke the nightmarish fantasy they once roamed these very depths of the city? Look, I'm going to stand in this warming light for a second with this behind, but that is an interesting theory to put forward. Perhaps we're not walking through fucked up, unsettled monster tunnels. Perhaps it is a temple designed to make us feel thusly. Now, I don't think we're that lucky. I think this is going to shit me up in the next few minutes. But I'm going to grab myself another cup. And that basically means that I'm going to leave you here in this glowing tunnel for a few seconds. If you would like me to grab you a beverage from the fridge, we've got a limited selection, but if you'd like to leave a comment below letting me know what beverage that I need to bring you back from the fridge, I probably won't, but it'd be fascinating to know. I could be playing Balatro right now. Kriegsfront prologue just dropped. That's like chunky, low poly mech Vietnam in all the glory of front mission. We could be playing that right now. But no, I had to go to the Nameless City. I had to drag us out on this. I did this to us. Okay. To be done with sobriety. Well, so the other thing I did want to mention before we continue on these dark and messed up halls is I mentioned earlier Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth. Sadly, while you can play the version on Steam, it's semi-balked. There's an impassable bug involving a sniper rifle and some frogmen. But what was fascinating about that was how it juxtaposed like early console FPS philosophy with mythos concepts. Like at a time when we were still learning what Halo do and trying to emulate that experience, you know, we were still trying to port the experience of an FPS to console, and Halo had just broken strides. But how do you make a game about empowering a person through the medium of shooty gun bang in something where honestly firearms could be less consequential? And when Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth succeeds, it is still some of the best in the business. But sadly, when it fails, it is a mediocre shooter with a very strange concept of your sanity meter. Though I will say, if you do choose to play it, see how far you can push the sanity meter, because when it breaks, it very much outpaces the previous gold standard of Eternal Darkness. Well, I guess, okay, it doesn't pretend to delete your save, which Eternal Darkness did very well. But like, if you've got the time to patch the crap out of it and get it working on Steam, Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth is still worth your time. But I don't know. I'm going to take a beat here and sip my beverage. Look, I'm really enjoying exploring these short form horror stuff. This isn't something that works on stream, and as I've said before, people don't want to go through spoopy stuff unprepared. At least with me being on YouTube, you can pause me. You can go and make a cheese toasty, or I don't know, pay attention to your pets or your partner. I have to press on. In a strange way, I am no different than our explorer. I chose this, and I have to press on. The difference being, I know the potential madness that awaits me, and this guy just had rich boy arrogance. Anyway. Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, worth it. Eternal Darkness, I think I need to revisit as a grown adult, because like a lot of people, I sung the praises of it as... My torch has gone out.
The torch has succumbed to the void. I must urgently seek a new source of light, as this abyss is hungry for the last remnants of my sanity.
Alright, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. It's okay. It's okay. See? We're okay. We're okay, buddy. You know, I would like to replay Eternal Darkness as an adult, but that's another story. Because it did a lot of things with meta-narrative and horror, which we've now superseded. We've now done so much more with it. But I wonder if it still stands up. Anyway, I haven't really decided what other kinds of horror I want to explore with this little series. But it's definitely a passion of mine. Don't ask me why. Okay. Can't cast any, like, glowing invisible shields. I'll probably focus on new school horror, although maybe for a stream, what I might do is get the team to do SCP Containment Breach. Because that game is simultaneously such a cornerstone and so mimetic, and so few people I know games industry-wise have played it. Oh, don't like that. Okay, we can't read and walk. Okay. Dispel. Cool. That's not ready to go. This one might be. Beans. Ah! Again, I will say, it's interesting how the use of horrific imagery there does not dispel the horror, because it's not a jump scare, it's not a release of tension, right? What happens there doesn't give us nonsense. I'm just going to try something. I can't make it. I thought if I could seal it behind us. But what's interesting about that imagery is it really does feel like, you know, things beyond the void communicating. One thing that you never find me wanting to play here is Five Nights at Freddy's or any of its kind of jump scare contemporaries, because they do one very, very simple thing very well, and I'm not disrespecting that. It's just I don't know. That series owes a lot to gentlemen like Markiplier, who were determined to go deep into the paint. Individuals who were prepared to, like, unfurl the lore of it and stuff like that. Because mechanically, it's a one-trick pony. It's a one-trick pony. And I don't know. It's also one of the reasons why I wanted to show you something like this, where the mechanics of it aren't designed to trip you up. They're complementary to one another, right? The simple spells, the moving through the darkness, the depleting sanity. These things aren't here to trip you up and throw a giant or right in your face. They're here to entomb us in whatever this nameless city may truly be. I don't know if you've noticed, we've been going down for a long time. And the continued gaps between these little breaks in sanity keep us moving, right? We cannot turn back. Can't stop. All that is left for us is to press forward. But how long have we been going? Do you remember? Like, without actually having to look at the timeline, do you remember how long we've been going down? Because it feels like a very long time. So I do think there's something really worthwhile in going through this. I don't know, sorry, it just sounds like I'm being a bit of crumb bum about Five Nights at Freddy's. But, oh, this is... impossible. The creatures depicted in the fresco bear resemblance to the mummies inside this wooden case. Could it be the inhabitants of the city transformed the bodies of their deceased into grotesque reflections of the creatures represented in their paintings? Now, if you have read The Nameless City, or if The Nameless City is even a book, if I've completely misremembered it and Bernstein bared an entire-ass Lovecraftian novel into existence, please let me know. But there's also a distinct possibility that you watching this know exactly where we're going and I don't. Either way, grab it. Ah, so gross.
My mind was inundated by thousands of memories, each of them a searing spike piercing my brain. Could these visions be the memories of the inhabitants of the city? The line between reality and these eldritch visions blurs my cognition to an indistinct haze.
So dispel. Cast it. Aha! Okay. So we've gained the ability now. What's this? These corridors were used as a crypt, yet no mural depicts the representation of deaths or funeral customs. Why the descendants of the inhabitants of the city to immortalize the death in their frescoes, and they preserve their deceased within wooden cases. But if I dispel it... Okay. So should I wish... Alright, I'm going to try something and it's really stupid. What happens when we dispel the light around these tombs. The importance of these eldritch beings must have been vast, as they hold the first place among the frescoed walls and funeral rites. A relentless vision lingers in my mind. These grotesque creatures crawling in these cramped tunnels, as if this very city was constructed for them. Okay. Okay. You can tell I'm getting jumpy. But... Do you know what's interesting? We now have the ability to return to the surface, should we wish. We could relight these. Using the powers we now have, we could make the climb. But in a strange and bizarre way, I don't feel like it. Let us see where this takes us. Okay, whatever cool shit I was saying before about varying kinds of horror and whatnot is now gone. It's just us, the quiet, and the nameless city. I'm desperately racking my brain to remember which of the DreadX games this wonderfully reminds me of. I think it's... Is it Juliet's Missing? Might be a different name. There we go, okay. The absence of any representation of death in their murals continues to perplex me. It is plausible that the inhabitants of the city abhorred a belief in some semblance of immortality, a delusion that these bodies within the coffins would somehow endure for eternity. Yeah, sure. You're in the bad place, my friend. But I thought that one was fascinating because, and I'll have to check to make sure I'm naming the right DreadX game, but that one was about research of the occult, while the occult slips in around you. This boy is already lost and he doesn't know it. Like, I know I asked this earlier, but again, how long have we been going down? Did you count how many floors? What even constitutes a floor anymore? If you think, I stopped for alcohol, what, midway through this climb? And here we are, messing with forces we do not understand. In a place of those who would proclaim themselves immortal, boy howdy, we sure do keep taking down a lot of walls. Okay. For the first time, we are heading slightly back up. Only so gently, but... God, do you know what this reminds me of? The horrifying temples in Alien... Oh. Thanks, I hate it. The fresco depicting a desert landscape bearing a resemblance to the desert surrounding the city. Yet this mural is a remarkable difference. A body of water near the bottom of the painting. Eons ago, could it be that the sea once stretched nearer to these barren lands? Oh, we're in fucking trouble, aren't we? As a suggestion, it was constructed during the primordial times, and the ruins survived the bygone sea. I hate this. A depiction of some grotesque sea creatures. Their very form conveys chaos. Could they have dwelled in the antediluvian sea around this city? The presence of some strange symbols carved on their skin, akin to the glyphs I've been collecting during my exploration, suggests these beasts and the sigils may have a mysterious connection. No effect. Also, I went a little bit mad. This fresco depicts the city more akin as it is nowadays. The sea has already retreated. The foreboding night sky hints that the city's descent into decay and obscurity, as it lost its once prolific connection to the sea and the creatures that dwelt it. God, we haven't even talked about the call of the sea. We should really talk about the call of the sea. We probably won't talk about the call of the sea. The room depicted in this fresco bears similarities to a chamber that I've previously encountered. A profane altar to the left, a mysterious idol to the right. Yet the altar is now adorned with a grotesque form that resembles a dismembered human corpse. How could it be that the inhabitants of the city were depicted as grotesque creatures in other frescoes, and yet represented as precise humans in this painting? If my assumptions are even remotely accurate? Oh, buddy. You're in the bad place. This is not good. circular structure made of stone surrounded by water with an altar at the center. This painting strongly implies that the profane rituals practiced by the inhabitants of the city were offerings dedicated to a sea deity. It's always a bloody fish. The enigmatic, half-opened, gigantic door unveils a formless cloud of otherworldly colours, predominantly purple. I'm using humour as a coping mechanism. Is this showing? Unnatural for the modern realm, unnatural for the mortal realm, and perhaps the very abode of the aforementioned god. See, I choose to believe at this point the person. Oh, fuck that. The person that we are playing as is either staring into batshit crazyville, and what we are experiencing are kind of like the last gasps of his sane mind, focusing on these frescoes, these murals to try and make sense, lest his mind finally snap in its last final moment. My relentless tide of thoughts is inexorably returns to the disconcerting truth that, apart from the poor and barely recognizable person sacrificed in that mural, I stand as the only human form amidst a sea of otherworldly relics and frescoes. Oh, sorry. Okay. And yet still we continue further down.
My initial presumption that the depicted creatures were representations of humans was just a shield against the profound horrors that dwell within the city's depths. A truth so unspeakable that I dare not express it with the voice of my conscious mind.
There's a part of this that really does feel that this is not a person's internal dialogue. This is their last capsulated part of rational thought in a body racked with fear and impossible momentum, as most of their mind desperately tells them to stop. A rational part tries to understand it, and yet they move forward. How far down did we walk? In a blackened sky. This is not the world, and what above us is not the night. Fuck. Could have taken up little model soldiers. You know they make little lead Napoleon models? He could have been all about that. Dude could have been a proto-Warhammer nerd. In case you didn't see, the prompt says lie down on the altar. And I'm going to, but I want you to disengage your games industry brain. I want you to disengage your observing YouTubian brain. I want you to try and put yourself in this, at this point, poor person's shoes. Like, sure, he had plenty of time to turn back at this point. There were so many points where he could have stopped, but he's past that now. I want you to think about what it is that is going to compel him to do this. And in turn, us. Right? Because... Sorry, I asked you to disengage with the person, and then I'm re-engaging you with the fucking medium. Sorry. But we could Alt F4 now. We could flip the bird, go outie 5000, and piss off. Honestly, you could just stop on YouTube. Boop. Never watching YouTube again. But we're not going to do that. you've not stuck with, Jesus, an hour 20. You've not stuck with an hour 20 of half mangled Lovecraftian explanations to be denied answers or closure or understanding the true depth of this insane, impossible monument that we have crawled our belly through, right? The thing that I find so haunting and frightening of this point is that the person we are playing as simultaneously is too broken to stop. They have to keep going, they have to know. But there's enough rational noggin to understand what it is they're about to do. That while the person goes onto the altar, the person does not come back. This isn't me. There's a lot more planets in there.
Recollections of my visit to the Nameless City are an amalgam of an eldritch nightmare and an uncanny reality. Amidst a hazy fog are my memories. A vivid sensation endures, the inexorable dread of being pulled into an otherworldly abyss of light. Those silhouettes, the eerie forms of the crawling reptiles of the Nameless City, against the luminous ether of the abyss.
Trying not to hide behind my booze.
Yet, the indelible mark that is etched in my worst nightmares at night is the vision of a grotesque and gargantuan beast that reigned over the city beyond the void.
Why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this to myself? I mean, hats off to the team on that one. A single creature was all that we saw of this, and now I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to sleep. Please don't make me do that. Please don't make me do that. But yeah, no, to Paradnight Studios, congratulations. That's it. That's it. That's the Nameless City. I think it is safe to say that it used wonderfully simple systems to tie so much together. We knew, it's a Lovecraftian story, we knew what lurked down below. We knew there'd be naught but darkness. We knew incomprehensible beasts would be the few things lurking. It's implied that our character made it away, that what we're actually hearing was their retelling. But we lay down on a sacrificial altar. What the fuck must have happened? And that is the great power of the cosmic horror, the mythos. Okay, fuck. Thank you for coming with me through this. Please, please, please. I don't know if there is more hidden elements to be found in the Nameless City, but at the very least, please share this with friends and whatnot. I hope you have enjoyed this jaunt, and I hope that my mediocre knowledge and unquestionable dedication to the fact that this was fucking weird, in the good way, I hope this carried with it some. If you have any thoughts or feels, there is a whole ass comment section that you can go absolutely loopy bananas in. If by some strange reason the people behind the Nameless City hear my ramblings, please, 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 please keep making games. What you have done in, a little under an hour and a half, most people will struggle to do in their entire careers. And now I've got to fucking find out how the hell I'm going to replay Eternal Darkness. But that's a story for another day. That is a story for another day. Okay, friends, thank you for this continuation of Tiny Horror. I'm going to drink and do the dishes. I am going to drink and do the dishes and try not to think about the concept of an incomprehensibly large ocean beneath our feet containing a monster beyond time itself, and whether or not I would be able to look away. Shit, that's the bit that's going to stick with me. Given the impossible temple, given all the things our character was presented with, could I, Will, the late night Dingleberry, could I have stopped? Fuck. Anyway, come ask me about it on stream. Please, please, please recommend the Nameless City to some friends, because if you've watched all of this, then you might know it all. But I don't want to stop recording, because then I'll really be alone.